This comment is in regard to a conversation that was being had here about human origins. Whether we were created, whether we evolved, where did all of this come from? And it is my opinion that nobody can tell you how everything started. If you listen to the people who adhere to the Big Bang Theory, they will tell you that all life began when a singular atom exploded into infinity. And we have the stars and the moons and all of the things that you see in the universe and the solar system and so forth and so on. And then we are a species that evolved from some other living organism on this planet. I adhere to that side of the argument. But when you talk to those people about that first atom and you say, okay, that first atom exploded and created all life that we know, where did the first atom come from? They can't tell you. They can't give you this is where it came from. Because the next question would be, where did that come from? And then where did that come from? And then where did that come from? And the same applies to the people who believe that we were created. The people who believe that we were created say that we were created by God. The next logical question is, where did God come from? And I said in the video that people who argue that we were created by God will typically argue that, well, he just always was. He didn't come from anywhere. He just always existed. And my argument is that the human brain cannot grasp that concept, cannot wrap its head around that thought process, because the human brain cannot wrap its head around something from nothing, right? Okay, so for example, this is a Sharpie, right? Somebody took materials and made this Sharpie, right? But if you told me that this Sharpie just appeared, I would say bullshit. We know the origins of this Sharpie, therefore we know where this Sharpie came from. But if somebody's opinion was the Sharpie just always was, then that would be a problem. We cannot imagine something from nothing. So we can't imagine God just always being with no starting point. This person's comment says as follows: God has no beginning. That's why he's God. Just because we can't comprehend that doesn't mean it's not so. When believers meet God one day, he'll explain it all to us. Excuse me a moment, I have an itch. Well, that goes back to my argument about the human brain cannot comprehend something from nothing. So he just always was. God has no beginning. Everything has a beginning. Everything does. You're making excuses. You can't explain your theory. Your theory is that God created everything. And when somebody says who created or what created God, you don't know, so you just make the excuse of he just always was. There is no beginning. He's just an omnipotent being that has always existed since, well, not since anything, because he has no beginning, right? That's a cop-out answer. That's an answer that somebody gives when they don't have an answer to the question, and they cannot intellectually say to you, you know what? I believe God created everything. I believe God created the heavens and the earths and the aardvarks and the platypuses and people and Oldsmobiles and ice cream shops and everything. But I can't explain how God came to be, so I'm just going to give you a bullshit reason of he just always has been. That is a cop-out answer.